So let's open up this midterm projects folder where you'll see the instructions, the rubric, the submission dates, and the templates. So I'm going to click on that. You'll see here that the instructions are located here, and they look like this. And the PowerPoint template that you'll be using is here, and that looks like this. And I'll discuss both of those momentarily. We had the career services presentation last week. So all of the links to that presentation you'll find here. If you recall going to the career services website, you were told to click on tools and resources. And that's going to take you to all those wonderful websites that the presenter showed you on how to find the salary, job expectations, personal interviews, videos on a day in the life of that career, and most importantly, the Focus 2. The Focus 2 was that assessment that if you're not quite sure what you're going to be doing as a career and you needed that extra help, if you took this assessment, careers, all lowercase, is the access code. This assessment was the one that was going to present to you some careers based on your answers that match up with your personality, your interests, your skills. So the Focus 2 was a big one. All right, let me go back over. And then you can see these other two links. What can you do with your major? What kind of jobs? And then the occupational outlook will give you how is your career going to be doing in the next year or 5 years in a certain location like Raleigh. What kind of salary increases or decreases? Is the job in more demand or less demand? That's where you're going to get those details from this. All right, so I'm going to go back to the instructions and the template, and let's look at what this assignment entails. All right, so the Career Midterm Project. Everyone has selected a career for the most part because you're in college and you're aiming towards a certain degree to work in a certain job. So this project is going to highlight your career, that job that you're planning to get. If you are unsure about your career at this point, this is a great time to select the job highest on your list because you're going to do some research about it and it'll give you more insight on whether or not that's something you might want to do. So we're going to look at that career you chose, and we're going to base the details on the 5 first chapters of our book. So early on, I mentioned ACA-090 doesn't just talk to you about your educational and life goals. We also connect with your career goals. So personal responsibility, motivation, self-management, interdependence. How does all that factor into your chosen career? As far as, say, a nursing job, what would the personal responsibilities be for a nurse? There are a lot of personal responsibilities for nurses, obviously, because they're working with patients in medical emergencies and medical needs, and that personal responsibility of being to work on time, being able to manage a schedule and the task required to move throughout the doctor's office or hospital, being able to keep track of records. There's a lot of personal responsibility involved. So you would go research your career and what that looks like, and you're going to incorporate those details in this specific project. Motivation. If you are going to be a business manager, you will need to be motivated because you are the person who motivates your employees. So motivation is key in a lot of jobs. Self-management, time management. If you're going to be an engineer, any engineer, mechanical, civil, computer engineer, you're going to need to be able to manage your time, manage the projects that you're working on, manage the people, manage the equipment, lots of self-management. And then interdependence. Who are you going to be working with in your career? Your coworkers or your office mates or clients, customers, the public if you're in customer service. So what does those different relationships look like? So that's how we're going to take those 5 principles that we've been working on and apply them to your career inside of this project. And I'll show you how in a moment. So you can see that there are some requirements with your PowerPoint presentation. Just know that with the presentation, you will be doing research. I showed you the websites that you can use. Make sure that everybody is identifying their degree program needed for their career. And I'll show you the rubric on how you'll be graded with this specific project. When we do our in-class presentations, every group member will need to speak at least once during the presentation. Because you'll be inputting your details in the PowerPoint, whenever you input something, that's the parts that you'll say. So it's pretty easy to determine who will be saying what. The presentations will be 10 to 12 minutes long, so be creative, have fun, and be thorough. And I'll give you more details. We'll talk more about formatting your presentation probably later in the second week. And showing you here those details, making sure you incorporate pictures and making sure that the font size is readable, making sure that their spelling and grammar is correct. So we'll go through all that a little bit later, but there are some details here on how to assure that your PowerPoint presentation looks and sounds good. All right, so I'm done presenting these instructions. I'm going to shift over to the PowerPoint, and pretty much this PowerPoint is your foundation to everything you're going to be saying and doing. It takes all the guessing out. It's a template, and your group is just going to go through and fill in this PowerPoint template, which makes it so easy. Okay, so for starters, when you get with your groups, and we'll start this part on Thursday, you'll get together and decide the answers to these two questions. Hey, group, as far as deciding a major degree, why is that important while we're still in college? And why should we know what career we're going to be doing while we're still in school? So you'll answer that as a group. And then as a group, each person will list their name, their degree program or certificate or diploma, and then their career on this Our Career slide. So everybody will make sure their details are incorporated here. And so for the next section, each member will have their own slide. This is where some of the individuality comes into play. The first career will go, say if it is, let's think, HVAC. So if the first person is an HVAC person, they will tell you what HVAC does, working with air conditioning and different, systems in homes. They'll decide like if they're working HVAC, residential, commercial, however, and they'll tell you what HVAC does and what certificate or diploma is needed for HVAC and what the average salary is. After that, the next person will go, okay, so my career is game design. What do game designers do? They'll give us a brief description of game designers, who they'll work with, those details, what degree or certificate is required, and the average salary, and then the next person. So you can see that those slides are set up or are aligned so that each team member can do a brief intro to the class for their career. Now, following that brief introduction for each person's career, the next things that you'll see are the chapter slides. There are 5 chapter slides here. This is chapter 1, and then chapter 2, chapter 3, motivation, chapter 4, self-management, and then chapter 5, which is interdependence. Out of these 5 chapter slides, each group member will select one question to answer. One question. So when you select your question out of the group, and I'll say first come, first serve. So if you see a question you like, I would let my team know really quickly, hey, I'm going to do 4. And so once 4 is selected, no one else in the group can do 4. So say someone selected question 4 for chapter 1. What are some key expectations of your career choice? If this is a person working in childcare, being a childcare school manager for like a daycare program, childcare management, they'll tell us what's the expectations as a childcare manager. Obviously, they'll be managing the teachers, the instructors, making sure that the facility has food delivered daily for the students for breakfast, snacks, lunch, working with parents, making sure that they understand the guidelines, so on and so forth. So they would give us a list. They would come in to the template and start typing in what those key expectations are. And they would make sure those details are in here, and they would make sure we know what job they're talking about. So that we'll know when that presenter is going, oh, okay, they're talking about childcare management, and that presenter's name will be put with the question. So with those details involved, the next person will have their question, and they will talk about maybe a smart start to engineering or whatever their career is, and so on and so forth. So as I mentioned, for these 5 middle slides, each member will go through and pick one question to answer from each of the chapter slides. Now, after all of that is done, the group will come back together as a team and say, oh, so we did it. We made it through those slides. We know we answered our questions. We are more versed about our careers. What did y'all think about this assignment? So as a group, y'all will type out an answer. We thought this assignment was really cool. We learned a lot about our careers, so on and so forth. You will also answer whether or not this helped to confirm your career choice. And this is a pivotal question because each semester I have at least 2 students after this assignment that decide, yeah, after researching, I got to get up at 5 a.m. every day and the hours are long, 12-hour work shifts. I don't think I want to do that job. So yeah, I have some students that decide they don't want to do it, and they might say why. So that's a great question. Or everyone might be more motivated after that assignment. Yes, I can't wait to get to work in my career. This really motivated me to really look forward to getting started, whatever the answer. And then how this assignment can be helpful for future students. The final slide is just references. So say you use the Focus 2 website, www.thefocus2website.com, www.indeed.com, whatever you use to find your resources, you'll just list them here in its simplest form. Just the website is fine. And once that happens, we'll talk more about formatting, turning these PowerPoints into spectacular works of art, because you'll change this background. I will not get 3 career background presentations. Y'all are going to put in your own backgrounds, add pictures of your careers, and you're going to have a very neat, formatted, wonderful, amazing presentation for your group to present to the class.